All right. Next, we're going to add a retry functionality. So we have our two tests. One of them is passing. The other one is failing. So if I rerun this, let's see that the first one will pass and the second one will fail. And the reason the second one is failing, again, is because we are targeting an ID that doesn't exist on this page, so it will time out. So we'll let this fail. I probably should have chose a shorter test, fail out quicker, but all right. So as you can see down here, we have one that's passing and the other one that is failing. Now, what we'd like to do is that when the second one fails, we want to retry it, right? So there's a thing in automation testing that's called Flaky Tests, right? And that's where one moment your test is passing, the second, then the next it fails, right? And a flaky test can be very frustrating because it can be where it passes 9 times out of 10. And on the 10th time, it'll come back as a failure because something didn't load fast enough or something didn't appear on the page. And to identify these flaky tests, you can create a retry analyzer. Basically, what this retry analyzer does is it retries any failed tests. So to be able to do that, we are going to, under framework, we're going to right click, add a new Java class, and we're going to add a Java class called retry. Okay, I'm going to hit add. Now, by default, it adds the package framework, right? Because we added it to the framework. But I'm going to add 2 imports to this. And this is import org.testng. And then I'm going to add retry analyzer. Okay. And then second, we're going to add an import. We're going to do org.testng. And the second one we're going to do is test result. Cheat here, we'll do that. All right. Now, the first thing we want to do is this public class, we want to retry. We want to make sure it implements the retry analyzer. And then we're going to set up 2 integers here at the beginning. One is the initial count, and the second is the max retry count. So the initial count is how many times the test is retried. And the second one is how many times total do we want it to retry? So we'll do an int init count equals 0, right? And then int max retry count equals, and we'll set it to 3. Now we're going to do an override here. And we'll do a public Boolean. Call it retry. And then inside here, we'll do test result. We'll do result. And basically, we're going to pass our test result to it. So that way we know if the test failed, we're going to pass it to this retry. And we'll do if int count is less than max retry count. So basically, if the amount of times we've attempted is less than the amount of max count that we want, continue. Go here, and then we'll do int count ++. So basically, if we haven't hit our max retry count threshold, we want to add 1 to the int count and then retry again. And then return true. Now it's complaining because I need to also return false if we are not doing that anymore. All right. So that's our simple retry method. So now we have what we need as far as that goes, and we're going to save that. And now we're going to actually go to our test. So our test needs a way to be able to pass to our retry analyzer what the result is. So we know that from our results previously that our second one here, our test search page _2 is the failing test. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to pass our retry analyzer to the test attribute. So I will say, and I'll do that by first, actually, before I move on to this, I need to actually add the import for it. So we'll do import framework, and then we'll do retry. And now we can add our retry analyzer to our test attribute. So we'll do retry analyzer equals, and then we'll call the retry class. And now what's going to happen is that if this test here fails, it will retry the amount of times that we've set at our max retry count. So let's try that right now. So we're going to right click, run, and just watch down here. So our initial one passes, right? Because we have one of our tests inside of that test.ng file will pass. Right now, our second test that we expect to fail is running, and it's actually going to run, fail, try to run again, fail, and then attempt to run 3 times in a row. Now, this is a long, timeout, so it's actually going to take a little bit while. But as you can see there, the test failed and automatically kicked off a second test. And we'll just wait for the last 2 tests here to finish. Okay, as you can see, it did attempt it 3 times, and that's how you set up a retry test analyzer.